Okay, hear me out. I'm so open to being the problem because then that way there's something I can do about it, right? Like optimal being. I have standards of being. I have a very low tolerance for feeling miserable. I keep getting flagged. The last 2 relationships I tried to start, I like genuinely, like, is this a red flag? Like, this feels like a red flag. When all in my mind, all I'm trying to do is communicate like a need or boundary. Like one that's came up in both of them is like, I don't want to feel so separate and closed off from somebody I'm sitting right next to. I don't want to feel lonely when I'm not alone. Like I have such a low tolerance for misery. I'm not going to be miserable. And I say that, like, no, we have to talk and solve problems. You can't just sit and be miserable. Like, your energy is important. That's why the world is falling apart, because we don't pay enough attention to that. Like, I'm threatening them because I don't.
Guys, whenever you hear a woman say things like, I tried to start a relationship, or I just can't seem to find a good man, yes, it is a huge red flag. Girls will go out a lot of the times, and they will have these quote-unquote relationships with men where everything is a struggle and everything is difficult for them, despite the fact that they could choose, for the most part, any kind of dude that they wanted under the sun, but they all seem to go after the top percentage of men and then cry when that man is distant, or that man really actually isn't interested in having a relationship with her. Now, props to this woman who actually considers the fact that she could be the problem in this particular situation. But would you have it, guys, people in the comments, and girls giving advice to other girls on this particular subject are just so incredibly useless a lot of the time. Check this out. So we have a comment at the top here that says, "You are not the red flag here." Okay, so what do you suggest? Is it the men who are always the red flag? Okay, is it the men who are responsible for the type of men that women are actually choosing to date? Yo, what is going on, guys? It is Taylor the Fiend back again with another response video, and on today's episode, guys, we have a bit of an interesting one for you here today. We have a story of a woman who basically gets divorced from her man. I'm pretty sure the man divorces her for cheating, and then afterwards she comes crawling back to him. But guys, before we jump into today's story, I kind of wanted to show you guys this comment that I saw in a video that I made the other day. So let's check this out. This refers to the woman at the start of the video where she's saying, I just can't seem to find a good guy. No luck with men. I keep trying to start relationships and just don't, things just don't seem to work out. And I wanted to kind of highlight the fact, guys, that a lot of these girls, they're not looking at a man's moral character when they go to start a relationship. And I thought that this guy, Big Techno here, put it in some very nice words. So let's take a listen. He says, "If you can't see my worth and my soul and my heart and the kind of person that I am, then move on." So he's quoting a woman from a previous video. "Don't be hypocrites. Women do not judge men based upon these qualities. I am 26 years old. I had a girlfriend. I treated her well. I was the first man that ever gave her flowers, a dozen roses. I took her out on dates and she ran off with her ex without even saying goodbye. After a lifetime of treatment like this, I gave up on love because I simply don't believe that it exists. It is a fairy tale. At this point, I believe the easy way, dollars." Right, so we have a whole bunch of stories like these, guys, where girls will come out and say, like, why can't I find a good man? So a lot of dudes, we think in our head, hey, what's the solution? Right, because men typically try and find a solution to these things. The solution that a lot of guys come up with is, oh, I'm going to treat her well. But the problem is a lot of these women don't actually respond to being treated well. Like, they seriously don't. The guy who treats them well becomes boring. He becomes this, he becomes that, okay? But guys, let's jump into today's Reddit story here of a cheating ex-wife who comes crawling back after her affair falls through. So let's jump into this. The post reads, "I'm the AP now." So if you guys don't know what AP means, I didn't know either until I came across this subreddit here. But AP basically just means affair partner. And this is a dude who's writing this. So he says, "I am the affair partner now. He says, "Hello again, everyone. I was here about 3 years ago when my wife at the time had an affair and left me." Okay, so he didn't divorce her. She had an affair and then left this guy. We have 4 kids together, and it was the absolute worst experience of my life. I barely survived, but I did. I made it through, and life got pretty good for me. I was pretty happy and moving along well. I dated some, but a couple months ago, I was happy being single and content with my life. I have always said this, guys, when these dudes start off stories like this, and they say, like, my wife had an affair, and then she left me, and then, like, I have multiple kids. Or like we have multiple kids together. Guys, you need to be very careful. If you're a dude who has children, okay, just in general, I would always recommend getting a paternity test. There are so many men, I pointed this out in the last video as well where we covered the other story. There are so many dudes walking around who have children and like they think that the child is actually theirs, but in actual fact, a lot of the times, the child is the child of another man. And given that this guy has 4 children, guys, and the wife was caught having an affair with another dude, I would not be surprised if multiple of the kids belong to other men. Hell, even a lot of the single mothers, guys, out here, the single mothers that are quote-unquote doing it tough, those girls who have multiple kids, a lot of the times, not always, but a lot of the times, they do actually have kids to different fathers, right? So it's not as if they just went through like one dude and then, things didn't work out or he unalived, so to speak, right? It's not as if it worked out like that. A lot of these girls are literally going through multiple dudes, or the dudes that are even in marriages when these affairs happen. A lot of the times the affairs actually happened a very long time ago as well, or at least they started a very long time ago. So chances are, one of the kids is not this guy's kid. And that's always really heartbreaking to see. But of course, guys, aren't we as men just super weird for wanting to ensure the paternity of our children? Some would even call us controlling. Let's continue with the story here. He says, "Well, then my ex started talking to me more and more. We've always been in contact because of our kids. She remarried the guy that she cheated with, and they had 2 more kids together. Yeah, there's a lot of kids involved here. Well, she started talking to me and about how unhappy she is and how basically they hate each other. She also has had multiple black eyes and other things that I can't say particularly here on YouTube over the last few years, and finally admitted that it was from him and their fight." So let me get this straight. This woman went out here, okay, she had an affair with this dude. Now things have gone south, so what does she do? She comes crawling back to you. Now, guys, I'm not making fun of like the, I would agree it's an awful situation that she's gone through here, okay? I wouldn't really wish that upon anyone, that kind of crap. But, let's talk about this for a second. She chose to run off with this other dude. Okay, she chose to go and have a relationship. Hell, she chose to go and have literally a marriage with this man. So she had an affair with this guy, and then she got remarried to another dude, and now she comes crawling back when her relationship is bad. Have you guys ever noticed that a lot of people do this, man or woman? I've seen men do it less so, but typically I've seen a lot of women have this idea that they can kind of like bookmark their place in your life, right? So if you're a dude who's maybe you've been out of a relationship or you've been out of a marriage or something like that, a lot of girls will seem to get this idea in their head, particularly if you were like the weak one when the relationship ended. And what I mean by that is like if the relationship ended and you were really sad to see the relationship go, blah, 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 a lot of people will actually say, you know what, I now have the ability to come back into this man's life whenever I want. Basically, it's like a level of entitlement where even if a girl screws off, she has an affair, if the affair doesn't work out, she'll crawl back in the dude's life and say, you know what, I'm entitled to be here. He didn't even want me to leave anyway. He's a really good guy, so he'll probably take me back after things go south. Now, let me tell you guys, before we jump back into the story here, if this man takes this woman back, okay, first of all, he's an absolute idiot. Second of all, if he does, you've got to understand, guys, that when a cheater gets taken back, all that you're doing is reinforcing the idea that they have permission to cheat on you. I know it sounds super backwards, okay? And cheaters might even come to you. They'll probably, they'll probably cry to you and say that they're sorry and all this crap and that they didn't mean to hurt you. Basically, a lot of cheaters will tell you whatever it is that you want to hear. But if you forgive them, and you say, you know what, let's work this out, let's continue then the cheating will happen again, guys. Like, there's a very, very, very solid chance that the cheating will happen again. This is why these things like happen repetitiously, right? The person who cheated continues to do it. But let's continue with the story here. So she says that they hate each other, things are going bad. She also has, certain things from fights. She said that she has nobody else to talk to, and she doesn't know what to do. Well, our conversations then turned towards us and all that happened. She said that she was so sorry and she regrets so much. I started feeling a lot of different things over these conversations. Well, long story short, she ended up coming over and we have fun together multiple times over the last few weeks. Now, this is the part, guys, where I have to say that the man is a complete idiot. Okay, you do not do this, guys. Number one, it's incredibly unhealthy. If you're someone who's been cheated on, right, and you're a man, or maybe you're one of the 5 women who watch this channel, okay? If you're a man or a woman and you've been cheated on, one of the most unhealthy things that you can do for yourself is to disrespect yourself to such a level where you return to your partner. I don't care if you guys have kids together. I don't care if you guys have a long history. It is incredibly unhealthy to return to people that have cheated on you. And cheated on you is something that's more obvious, guys, but I would also say like things like disrespect, because what you're doing, right, is whenever you return to these people, right, they might come begging and crawling back and apologizing, whatever, but if you actually return to these people, what you're really communicating is that their behavior towards you was appropriate. So let's just say they disrespected you and you take, like, in some serious way, not necessarily cheating, but they disrespect you and then you decide to take them back. You're a clown for doing that, because what's going to happen is they're going to treat it as though it's okay. Oh, he or she forgave me, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to be able to get away with that behavior next time. Now, they might not think that immediately, okay? They might try and be a good person for like 20 seconds, okay? But who really gives a crap about that when, 2 months later, you can be catching your wife doing the exact same thing as she was doing, and, the thing that she was so apologetic about. Guys, you've got to understand that in situations like these, apologies mean absolutely nothing. And when they come crawling back, to me, guys, who the hell cares about them? Let them go deal with their own problems, to be honest with you. So this guy was a clown, and then he ended up getting back with her, right? So this woman came crawling back, and this guy could have had the satisfaction, right, of sitting there saying, oh, I'm not interested, sorry, and then blocking her. He should have blocked her to begin. Actually, no, they had children together, right? If they had to, sort out lifts and things like that for the children. But, he could have had that laughing moment of saying like, oh, no, or just saying like, I'm not interested, or not letting her come over, or vice versa. And also, by the way, we'll talk about this point later on, okay? But if she's saying that the dude is bad, guys, I'm always very skeptical, because the thing is, when relationships end, they have a tendency of becoming circles. So there's a good chance that when she went to this guy, the guy that she cheated on this guy with, chances are she would have said that this man was a bad man. You see what I'm saying? So let's continue with the story here. I started feeling a lot of different things. I saw her multiple times over the weeks. This has left me feeling all kinds of effed up. I don't know what the F I'm doing. I don't know why I'm even typing this here. I know I will get no love from anyone here for it. I'm the affair partner now to my own ex-wife, Jesus, he says. The main reason I really didn't care is because he did the same thing to me and the A word, but I've ended up feeling bad anyway. This guy isn't... We'll come back to this in a second. If anyone out there has anything to say to me, that would be okay. Maybe talk some sense into me. Maybe tell me how effing stupid I am. No worries on that front, brother. I haven't talked to anyone about it for obvious reasons. We remain in contact, and I don't know what's going to happen. Honestly, I still love her. If she left him tomorrow, I'd be there. How insane is that? Am I literally stupid and crazy? My answer to that question, guys, as you know, is 100% yes. I don't understand when we come across stories like these. One of the weirdest things that we'll ever see, guys, and I covered this in like the first TikTok, which we might return to, okay? But one of the funniest things I see that just makes absolutely no sense to me is that whenever you read stories like these, or people saying, hey, am I the problem? Or, hey, have I done something wrong here? And they clearly have. You'll have just clowns in the comments tell them that everything is okay, right? Come along and say, oh, don't worry, you're not the red flag, right? We saw that comment from the first TikTok. You're not the red flag queen, don't worry. It's obviously the men. And these people don't really ever learn from it, because nobody gives them the tough love. Like, nobody actually tells them that this is incredibly stupid. So let's jump into some of these comments here and see if these people have done anything different, which, you know, potentially they have. Let's have a look. Listen here. This individual says the person you should be worrying about is yourself. Reconnecting with and getting with your ex-wife is not healthy for you, regardless of everything else. It could potentially set you back in all sorts of ways. The fact that you'd still take her back means that you haven't moved on, and with that being the case, the bedroom fun is even more dangerous to your mental health. You need to create more distance between you and her, not less. You should also worry about your children. How often are they at your ex's house? There is DV happening there. If your ex is the A word, these things could be problematic for the children. I would seriously think about trying to get full custody to protect your children. So I think that's a very good advice right there, guys. Also, that's something I failed to consider, right? You obviously want to care about the children, assuming, you know, whether or not they're his. Obviously you do want to care for the children here, guys. I would say that this is a bit of an issue, right? If these kids, whether or not they're his, are growing up in this particular situation, it really sucks. You know, guys, I always try and highlight these in the episodes, okay, where we cover things like these, but the people who lose the most out on these situations are literally the children. So when you have situations where like divorces happen and relationships split up, and you know the dude's losing half his the house and the assets and whatever, one of the saddest things about these stories is that you also have the children who are losing the fathers in the process, right? And those kids are going to grow up in a real dark situation right there because they don't have a father figure to guide them through these particular situations. It's honestly incredibly disgusting to me. But let's continue through some of these comments, and then we'll continue on to today's next story, because I do have another one here pulled up for us. So let's take a read of some of these comments. Next individual here says, called Throwdown, says, the only thing you're doing wrong is putting yourself in a situation that is messing you up mentally and emotionally. It is not good for you. Don't do it. Your feelings for her are perhaps normal, but you've got to drive this with your head. Fantastic advice right there. This individual here says, oh my goodness, what do you want? To me, this is the pet cemetery method of relationships. Sometimes dead is better. Trying to dig up a dead relationship can make things worse than they already are. Remember, she regrets things now because this new thing isn't working out. That's it. You're a safety net. I mean, people do all sorts of things, but if you want to get back with her now and have 6 kids, that's up to you guys. But I don't know, from the outside, this looks like trouble. Yeah. So this woman, by the way, so when she cheated on this guy, she went to the other man, and then she decided to have children. So now she has 6 children, right? And that makes the theory of, you know, potentially her having children to this guy all along. Like, guys, there is such a high likelihood that this man's kids are not even his. Like, I'm not even kidding when I say that. So if she had 4 kids with this guy, apparently, and then she went off, she had her affair, right? Now she's crying about it, but she went off and she had her affair, and then she had 2 other children with this particular guy. The fact that this woman was just, you know, had 6 children, kind of, especially with this new, so she had 2 more with this new guy, kind of tells me the fact that, hey, she would have probably had kids with him too if the opportunity arose. Right? So guys, like, you've always, in these situations, paternity test, man. I've said this on the last episode. I will continue to say this. I think that paternity tests should be mandatory. I don't care if the couple has been together for 10 years. I don't care if the couple has been together for 2 weeks and it's a complete accident, guys. You know, the fact of the matter is, paternity fraud is a big problem. Right, and it seems to me, guys, by the way, that governments don't really want to address these things, right? Because if the government were to come along and say, hey, let's do these paternity tests, and you actually found out the rate of infidelity was quite damn high, if you went and did that, then the government would be on the hook to pay for these single mothers, not the men. Right? Because at the end of the day, guys, the men are on the hook to pay for these single mothers. Okay? The dudes who get cheated on, you know, losing their crap in divorces, still paying child support, whatever the case may be. Okay? Hell, even the single mothers who just get governmental assistance, right? So where I live, guys, single mothers can just straight up get governmental assistance. From what I understand, it's the taxpayers who are paying that. Okay, so the dudes who are working, the dudes who are literally out there, you know, the plumbers, the electricians, the guys who are working jobs, okay, these are the individuals who are paying for these single mothers, by the way. So it's not truthfully, guys, it really isn't the women. Like, it just doesn't So the women make these decisions, they screw up, they become single mothers, right? And then the men are the ones who have to pay in the end for the situation, guys. And they wonder why Western civilization is just like, nobody likes dating, okay? Nobody likes dealing with these situations, and yet they've got men on the hook for absolutely everything, and women are somehow just, you know, void of taking any of this accountability. Now, there are some women who would take accountability. Again, shout out to the woman at the start of the video who actually entertains the idea that she could be the problem. But a lot of these girls, guys, they just treat men like crap. Like, they really do. Now let's continue on to today's last Reddit story here, guys. And I found, you know, what is it with marriage just being an absolute source of this, okay? So this is from 6 days ago. I thought this was more recent, actually, but the title is, "My wife has moved on quickly. I'm a 28-year-old male, and my wife is 26, and we have no kids together." So first of all, I'd count yourself semi-lucky right there, because these situations get a lot worse with children. He says, "Some backstory. My wife and I were together for 6 years. We were so close for a few years and had such a close bond that I don't think many people experience." This is a lie right here. Well, whenever I hear dudes say things like, "Oh, we have you know, we have such a close connection," right? Or, you know, things between us nobody would really understand, and then they get cheated on, right? And dudes get like a hit of reality, okay? Right? When men get cheated on, you know, a lot of these guys, they, at least in my mind, hopefully they kind of wake up to the idea that all of these experiences that we as dudes seem to think are so unique, for the girl, they're really not that unique, guys, a lot of the times. Right? I see dudes who go out here, they think they have a fantastic connection with the girl, yeah, but, you know, so does the next guy, right? That's why the phrase floats around, guys. It's not, you know, she's not yours, it's just your turn. That is something that you will see that is a phrase that will continue to be going around, guys, because of situations like these. So, he says, "It was almost like we were the same person. I've never truly felt closer to anyone in my life. We get married after 3 years and everything was going great. Then 8 months pass and we start getting into arguments. She's leaving all the time, being a kid's softball coach, while I keep up with stuff around the house while she's gone and do my own hobbies. She scolds me constantly, not long after she starts coaching, saying I'm not supporting her by going to all of her games. But I have my own hobbies and someone has to keep up with stuff around the house while she's gone. A few months after, she said blah blah blah." Excuse me, the lines are kind of blurring together here. "I find out maybe a month after, wait. A few months after she starts coaching, she ends up texting this guy and she meets up with him." Right, okay. "They have bedroom fun and make videos for 2 to 3 months. I find out maybe a month after and confront her. She is very remorseful and I forgive her." You guys know what I think about forgiveness in these situations. These individuals who cheat on their partners, these are not people that you can really forgive, guys. You know, at least in the short, like, you cannot forgive them and say, "Oh, you know, I'm going to take them back." Okay, you can forgive them and you can have pity on them later. I'll agree with that. You can understand that they are messed up individuals and, you know, hopefully they work their stuff out because it says more about them than it does about you. I can understand that perspective, okay? But going out here and forgiving cheaters, guys, and getting back with them, absolutely stupid idea. So he says, "Given the bond that we had, I marked it to a bad judgment and that she will turn things around." Right, yeah, okay. "Things are great for a year later. Granted, we had a few big fights, but nothing that I thought wasn't fixable. One night last week, I could tell things had been off for a week or so. I said that she had been messaging a guy 10 years older than her, saying how cute he was." Jeez, man. "The exact time I found out she was with the guy, I told her not to come home and called her with a lot of mean things and told her to get her crap. One day later, she has moved in with him and is happy as hell." This is what I'm talking about, guys, with this monkey branching crap. Right, where a lot of girls, what they do is when they have these situations, they'll typically try and line up the dude who, you know, who comes after the man. Okay, so I've said this so many times, guys, but if you're a man in a relationship and your relationship ends, the reason why your girlfriend or your wife or your partner sees a man so quickly after, or she moves in with a guy like in this particular situation, the reason why this happens, guys, is because she had that man there beforehand. right? It wasn't as if this guy just came out of nowhere and then one thing led to another, and before you know it, she was living with him within a week. That's not how it works, okay? A lot of women, what they do is they line up their options, and people will say like, oh, Taylor, don't men do the same thing? Most men can't even line up 3 options, let alone like they, a lot of guys, these situations are not available to them, right? When men get out of relationships, it's not as if they can just pick up their phone and go have a relationship immediately with another woman for the most part. Okay, particularly the dudes who have been married, because what ends up happening is when women get married to men, oftentimes they're picking being a married man, guys. I've said this before on the channel, but it's like if you're a guy and a woman says to you that you're marriage material, you're husband material, a lot of these girls, what they do is they select the guy who's stable, who's secure, who they're not necessarily as highly attracted to, but she can at least have some security out of him. Okay, it truly is disgusting, guys, and I really wish I was kidding about this, but a lot of girls, when they're selecting husbands, they're not selecting husbands for like dudes that they respect or dudes that they're highly attracted to. What they're really selecting for is the security, guys. Like maybe you're a dude and you have a house almost paid off, or maybe you have a house, maybe you have a stable job. Okay, this is why these situations happen, guys, because girls are going out here a lot of the times refusing to take accountability, because what they do is they choose the guy who's stable, and then at the same time they want to go out there and actually screw with the guys who they're highly attracted to, like Chad from Tinder or some crap like that. It truly is just incredibly gross to me, guys. Incredibly gross. But most dudes cannot do that because they don't actually have the options to pick from. Right? Particularly the dudes who the girls get with just for security. Maybe he's not the most attractive guy in the world, but he loves her. Right? That's the requisite. He loves her because she knows that she can leverage that love into something. And she can just cheat on him and treat him like crap, and then he's always going to come back. So let's wrap up this Reddit story and today's episode. So he says, she tells me that she's working. Wait. So one day later, she has moved in with him and happy as hell. Then later, she tells me that she's working on herself and needs a couple of weeks to figure out what she wants. Wow. So basically, things are going south with this guy as well, or at least a little bit. I love how a lot of women will say things like, working on themselves, or they need to find themselves, and really what it means is they're just jumping into bed with dudes. Have you guys noticed how these two things seem to be relatively synonymous with each other? Like, oh, I'm working on myself, I'm healing, I'm doing whatever, and what it really means is like that they're going out and getting with some other dude. Okay. I'm devastated, he says. How does someone do this? I admit we have both been complacent for a while, but why didn't she tell me? I can't do anything but blame myself, and I feel worse every single day to the point where I don't know what to do. She continues to live with him. I just need words of encouragement. I know how bad it sounds, but I still love her and can't shake it. This guy doesn't need words of encouragement. He needs some words of tough love, guys. Okay, this is what I'm talking about when dudes don't respect themselves. They end up in situations like these. Men who do these things to themselves, guys, and I mean this in the most, I mean this genuinely in the most caring way I possibly can. Men in these situations don't need encouragement. They need tough love. They need someone to come along and say, hey man, you're being an idiot, okay? This is on her. And I love how this guy's like trying to take responsibility, like, oh, yeah, I've been complacent for a while. And like, yeah, we get into arguments. I wonder if this guy just clearly does not seem to understand the idea that all of these arguments, guys, I would bet, okay, that a good portion of these arguments are literally just manufactured by this woman so that she can feel okay with herself and her affairs that she's having. Like, this guy seems like he would do anything to make her happy. He seems like a guy who's trying to make things work, and he really cares about her, and, he's talking about his connection, that he loves her and he cares for her and all these sorts of things. It kind of strikes me as weird, okay, that he would be the one starting crap, starting arguments, okay, being the one who is being incredibly difficult, right? Dudes have this tendency to think that we're always the problem in the relationship, when, to be honest, like, this woman was literally cheating on him. His kids probably aren't even his, and he's sitting here talking about trying to say, oh yeah, I was complacent for a little while, and yeah, we got into arguments and things like that. A lot of these arguments were probably just made by her so she can rationalize being a piece of crap human being. Absolutely disgusting stuff. But guys, we are going to be calling today's episode there. Before you guys leave, as always, remember to leave your thoughts and your comments to what we've covered here today. Don't forget as well, guys, to come and join us over on Locals or Patreon, guys. Locals is free to join. It has a bunch of content that we archive from YouTube over here because, you know, YouTube is the way it is. But we also have exclusive episodes over there for supporters, guys, where we cover some different subjects that, you know, YouTube just really does not like us covering. So, guys, if you like the episode, you're interested in supporting the channel, make sure that you come and join us over on Locals, if anything for totally free, guys. You know, because you never really know how long this channel will be around for. I've been saying this for quite some time now, guys, but honestly, you know, you really don't know with YouTube. Okay, we've seen a lot of creators get removed over on this platform, so make sure that you come and join us over on Locals, guys. If you're interested in supporting the channel, make sure you check it out. But otherwise, guys, make sure that you take care of yourselves, and I'll be seeing you all in the next episode. Peace.